Right now at 6, a new proposal from the Portland School Board that could raise eyebrows.
It would be a very steep hill to climb.
Why the end of the teacher strike is now putting the kicker in the spotlight. Plus, brand new to the Rose City, and now she's vanished.
We want her back. That's all.
The clue left behind and why they say her disappearance doesn't add up. And a local family rejoices after a young relative is freed in Gaza.
We were extremely happy and relieved, to see him coming back.
Why those celebrations tonight are also bittersweet.
Good evening, everyone. We begin at 6 with a call to overhaul funding for public schools across the state. Thanks for joining us. I'm David Molko. The ink is barely dry on a deal with teachers in Oregon's largest school district, and members of the school board facing significant budget cuts next year are now asking the state to step in. Thomas Schultz is live tonight outside Lincoln High. Thomas, the district says the agreement will cost them some $175 million, and now at least one board member says Oregon's record kicker could be a potential answer. What do we know?
Well, David, yeah, they're pointing to that kicker because he says, going to be big budget cuts because of that $175 million over the next 3 years. They say they don't know yet where those cuts are going to come from. Now, Andrew Scott, the board member in question we're talking about here, says instead of Portland Public Schools arguing with its teachers union over money, the two sides should just both be looking to the state, pushing them for more money.
We're having the wrong fight.
Days after Portland Public Schools and its teachers union reached a deal ending a near month-long strike, school board members say PPS can't afford the contract and need more state money. In the past legislative cycle, the state approved $10.2 billion for Oregon public schools over the next 2 years, the most ever given to schools. Though last year, the state's Quality Education Commission said schools needed almost $11.9 billion, almost $2 billion more than they received. Now, PPS board member Andrew Scott says the state should look at the kicker fund and give schools money instead of giving it back to citizens.
We are about to spend $5 billion back to Oregon taxpayers because of the kicker law. That funding would have been transformational for every school district in Oregon.
The kicker is a state program that refunds tax payments to Oregonians when tax revenues exceed projections by 2%. And the idea of getting rid of the kicker refund is unpopular among taxpayers.
It would be a very steep hill to climb to get rid of the kicker.
John Horvick, a pollster, says 2/3 of Oregonians support the kicker, and more are concerned about their own finances rather than education funding.
We would be asking voters to not only not get that money anymore, which they feel like that they need, but to give it to a government what they don't have a lot of confidence in.
Getting rid of the kicker would require a change in the Oregon Constitution, something Jim Moore, a director of political outreach at Pacific University, says politicians are unlikely to do.
And historically, people have looked at the kicker and they've tended to say for the past, more than 40 years, we think it's a good thing.
Still, Governor Tina Kotek realizes something needs to change.
So we have to, I think, take a deep dive on how we're doing our school funding formula.
She plans to ask the state chief finance officer in Department of Education to weigh in on school needs. Still, Moore says a big change in funding is unlikely.
It's a tough sell, even if you're a popular politician.
Leaving Portland Public Schools likely forced to cut costs somewhere.
We also got a contract that we cannot afford. And we cannot afford it because the governor and legislature have failed to adequately fund education in Oregon.
Now, what's also interesting, and Kotek mentioned this in her press conference, is that 1/3 of schools statewide will be bargaining this year. And she says that the state needs to make changes in 2025. That's the next legislative cycle that education funding will be hotly debated. Now, of course, for that kicker, which is popular to keep in place, Oregonians, the average Oregonian, can expect $2,100 this year. David?
Yeah, there has to be a solution, though, somewhere. Thank you, Thomas. Let's get to your headlines this evening. Yamhill County authorities have arrested a 19-year-old for the murder of another teenager. Officials have identified the suspect as Brendan Waco from Cornelius. The sheriff's office says he shot a 16-year-old on Monday by Northwest Russell Creek Road in a rural part of Yamhill. Waco is charged with murder. Authorities say they are not identifying the victim because of their age and the ongoing investigation. Detectives add they expect to make other arrests. In Morrow County, a community action group believes somebody intentionally set a staffer's truck on fire. Oregon Rural Action has been vocal about groundwater pollution from nitrates, which our Pat Doris recently covered extensively on the story. They say the truck caught fire an hour after members of the group had met with state lawmakers. The Boardman Fire Rescue District told OPB that it considers the fire suspicious. Anyone with information is asked to call the Morrow County Sheriff's Department. Well, some good news for frequent Amtrak riders with 2 additional daily round trips soon to link Portland and Seattle. Beginning December 11th, Amtrak will offer an early morning train that departs Portland at 6:45 and another evening train that departs at 7:25. This brings the total daily round trips between the Rose and Emerald cities to 7. Washington Senator Maria Cantwell helped secure that agreement. And skiers and boarders, it's time to get your gear tuned up and those goggles out of the closet, because Mount Bachelor announced today it is planning to open this Saturday. They are cautioning, though, we could see delays with lift opening times this weekend because of strong winds and icing. The resort had hoped to start ski season last week, but a rough go with early season snow pushed that back. On Mount Hood, Meadows says it is hoping to open on December 8th or the 9th. If you're wondering what's going to make that all possible, well, let's give you a live look outside where it is 40 degrees in the Rose City with that stretch of dry, sunny November days finally coming to an end. Chief Meteorologist Matt Zaffino joins us now. Matt, big change on the way. What is the timing for the rain and snow looking like?
You know, there's already snowing up at Timberline right now. It's been light, just a few flurries. You can see a few flakes falling out of the sky up there right now. Not snakes, but flakes. Luckily, right? So yes, it's game on basically. 28 degrees at Timberline right now. We've got a winter storm watch up for the run of the Cascades beginning on Friday night. And there's a winter weather advisory from Thursday night into Friday for the same reason, for the heavy snow that is coming our way. So yes, a few flurries tonight, but the main events really begin tomorrow as several storms begin to roll our way. It'll be rain in the valleys, heavy snow in the Cascades, but even up in the Cascades, that's going to be followed by heavy rain as things warm up. In fact, it gets really warm in the valleys early next week. That's not great for the mountains, but by then we will have seen several feet of new snow fall and accumulate in the mountains. So those openings should be in good shape, even though we're going to get some rain hammer on the snow itself. So yes, heavy mountain snow. It all begins tomorrow. It's really going to gear up Friday night, and we'll look for those snow levels to begin to rise as we go into Saturday night. David?
Here it comes. Thank you, Matt. To another story we are following closely this evening, a woman who just moved to Portland for a new job and is now missing. The family of 28-year-old Wilma Acosta are now canvassing Old Town in the hope they can find her safe and bring her home. Ashley Grams joins us live along the waterfront tonight. Ashley, it sounds like investigators have at least one clue to go on here.
David, I talked with her family today. They say Wilma was last seen leaving the Dixie Tavern in the early morning hours of Sunday. When she didn't come home, her friends decided to track her cell phone. Now, they tracked it down to this spot on the west bank of the Willamette River. They did find that phone, but they didn't find Wilma. Now, her parents say that she moved to Portland just a few months ago. She worked for Kaiser Permanente. She recently got an apartment and a new dog. Friends were visiting Wilma the weekend that she went missing, and now her family just wants answers.
We're going to put flyers all going down all down there and try to talk to people to see if they have seen her.
Love my only daughter. We want her back. That's all.
Police are investigating this case. They say she was last seen wearing all black. She has tattoos. She has piercings. If you know anything, please call police.
Yeah, Ashley Graham's on the waterfront tonight. Thank you, Ashley.